I know it looks like success. I know it looks really good on paper, but what if I told you what you have been calling success is really just you in survival mode? That's what we're going to be talking about today. How to come out of survival mode and live a more sacred and succulent life. We've been talking a lot recently about the end of an era and what exactly that looks like when it is time for necessary endings, when it's time to come out of a season that has run its course, relationships that have run its course, jobs, just whole ways of being. And I firmly believe that where we are right now, individually as well as a collective, that we are in an end kind of season where what was can absolutely no longer be. And there has to be a, a new, a new way of being that must emerge. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So if you are one of my ladies and a few of my men who I know also listen in, where you are in a space in your life where you know things really have to change and not just slightly shift, but I'm talking about where you understand that the way you have been doing life no longer works and you really need a total shutdown and a whole reboot, but not to come back and do things in the same old way, but to really understand that this is a different time, a different season, and it truly requires a different version of you. My name is Melissa Brown, also known as the Soul Love Coach, and I am a therapist, a life coach, and author of The Soul Surrender, as well as a retreat host, ordained minister. So when you get me, you're going to get the psychological as well as a little bit of Jesus, a little bit of discipling. And my passion is really blending those two things together to help you to do the deeper work on yourself so that you can live the life that you know you're called to live. And so, as I said earlier, we've been doing a lot of conversation, whether if you're on my email list, if you've been watching the last couple of videos, really for I think the month of June, I really wanted to just kind of make you a little bit curious and to lean into this notion of necessary endings and next chapters and knowing when it is really time to move on. And so one of the things that I know really trips us up is this sense of being in survival mode. And what do I mean by that? Survival mode is really a way of being that makes you feel like you have no other choice. It is a way of being where you feel locked in to doing certain things, being a certain way, engaging other people, particularly those that you love, in a certain way, because if you don't, there will be negative consequences. And many of us, you haven't been in survival mode for just the last couple of years, and it did not start when your boss got crazy. If you really want to know the truth, many of us have been in survival mode since we were children. And if you have done any kind of soul wound work with me, then you know that between 7 and 9, sometimes as late as 10 years old, many of us form ideas about how the world works. We form ideas about how we need to engage the world and the people that we care about. We decide at that young of an age how we are going to get our needs met. And even if you had a great family, you don't have to come from a tumultuous, chaotic background to have a soul wound. Every person alive has a soul wound. Every person alive has experienced some level of rejection. Some have experienced abandonment. Some have experienced the instability of chaos. And a whole lot of us are very familiar with the soul wound of emotional neglect. And and so those wounds don't just come out of nowhere. And a lot of times it's not until later in life that we begin to take a look at our patterns and realize this has been going on a long time. And so it disguises itself like exhaustion. It disguises itself as responsibility. Sometimes it looks like competence and excellence. You know, we love to use those kinds of phrases. But again, I want you today to look just a little bit deeper at what you have been calling success, because it might just be you in survival mode. And part of what that means is if you are, I'm going to use gender, the woman, although this can apply to men as well. But if you are a woman who was a little girl and basically, as for as long as you can remember, you've been the adult in the room, it is highly probable that your way of survival was responsibility. It is very likely, very probable, if you are used to doing it all because you felt like if I don't do it, then it won't be done, even when you were nothing but 10 years old, it is highly likely that your overperformance, overworking, overgiving now at this big age is really just little girl you still in survival mode. And again, I don't, most of the time when we talk about survival mode, we're making it seem like life or death. But all of us have basic needs. Every human being has basic needs: the need to be loved, the need to be seen, the need to be validated, the need for relationship. I need somebody to be there, the need for safety and security. I mean, at the root level of your life, all of us want to know what stability feels like, which is, side note, which is why everyone's anxiety is through the roof, because in 2026, at least under this administration, is so much instability. You don't know whether you coming or going. You don't know if you're going to get laid off. You don't know if you're going to get a job. You don't know if you're going to get the pay they said. You don't, everybody is waiting on the switch up. And it creates a level of anxiety because I don't know what is safe and I don't know what is secure. And so, again, we overcompensate when we have these kinds of experiences. We overdo as a way to make sure we are taken care of. In other words, you are in survival mode. So, one of the things that has to come to an end in this season of the end of an era is you being in constant motion, you being indispensable, you being overly available and calling it love, you doing the most and receiving the least. Today is my invitation to help you to come on out of survival mode and surrender to a different way of living and a different way of life. Particularly if you are a woman who's been asking a question that I get very regularly: Melissa, I just can't hold it all. I can't balance it all. I got the kids, I got the husband, I got this job, I have leadership positions, I have the church, I have all of this responsibility, I got the family, I got extended family, and the list goes on and on and on. Many of us, whether you want it to be or not, you are the go-to. You are the strong one. And the question that you've been asking is, how do I hold it all? How do I carry all of this without killing myself? And today I want to submit to you that maybe that's not the right question. Maybe the better question to ask is, do I want to live like this? I know I'm messing with your nervous system, because as soon as I said, do you want to live like this? There's a little voice in your head that told you you have no other choice. And if you heard that voice, I'm going to say to you, I'm going to pull you close and I'm going to say to you, you are in survival mode. And I want to invite you to go deeper than all of the things you feel like you must do, that you have to do, that the whole world is going to fall apart if you don't do it. And I want you to ask yourself, what if you didn't do it? What would it feel like for you to not be everything to everybody? I had to ask that question of myself. Y'all know I like to use myself a lot. Y'all know I'm a sports mom. I got two kids that are athletes, and probably the only reason why the third one isn't is because she's 12 and she's just young. The others are, I got a 20-year-old, a 17-year-old, and we've been in basketball life, traveling, AAU, all the different things in right now what feels like forever. Yes, the payout is great when you're getting the scholarships and opportunities and your child is being posted and all of those things, but there's a cost to that. There's a cost to that. It costs you your time. It costs you some money. It costs you some energy. It costs you some of the things that you might want to do for yourself because you can't be over here and be over here with yourself. You can't be over there and be over here. And so again, one of my friends challenged me recently because I was in my mode of like, oh my gosh, I don't know how am I gonna do all of this? And she said, what happens if you don't? What happens if you don't? And she's a really good friend of mine who knows me at that deeper level. Everybody needs at least one or two that know you at a deeper level. And she was able to use my language on me and say, Melissa, it sounds like it's touching a wound. It sounds like it's hitting one of your soul wounds. What happens when you can't be everything? What happens when you can't check all the boxes and you can't get it all right? And if I'm all the way honest, yes, me, a whole therapist, whole life coach, teaching curriculum that God loaded to me. I've been giving it to you, but there is a part of me that feels like I lose love if I'm not useful, if I can't get it all done, if I can't get it all right. And again, if you've been a part of my groups, then you know that my soul wound that I'm healing from, because I don't know that we ever are completely healed, but at least have some awareness of where are you slanted? Where is your wound? And for mine, it's emotional neglect. Emotional neglect, for those of you that are kind of new to this language, doesn't mean like CPS, Child Protective Services neglect, like you didn't eat, you didn't have. It's more of who takes care of you, who asks you how you're doing, who's checking on you to notice when your mood has shifted and um you're not as jovial and you don't have as much of the spark that you normally have. Who's checking on you? Everybody doesn't have that. And I know for me, growing up in my household, I had two parents that were working. Nobody had, not that, and again, it's not about not being loved, but ain't nobody got time to coddle you. Ain't nobody got time to kind of notice every little nuance about you. So there would be many a times that, if I wanted to go and sit with my mom, but she been working a 12-hour shift because she's a nurse, and somebody else in the house is like, leave your mother alone. She ain't got time for that. So over time, you begin to develop the habit of number one, not having needs, and number two, meeting other people's needs as a way of connection. Did y'all hear what I said? When you have been not been tended to on an emotional level as a child, what you learn how to do is number one, you learn not to have needs because ain't nobody gonna coddle you anyway. So you learn how to suck it up, buttercup. You learn how to dry it up. You learn how to cry by yourself because ain't nobody got time to see you always crying. In addition to learning how to not have needs, what you learn, because the need for love and connection is still there. Like I said, these are basic needs that everybody has. And so, what is the way that you learn how to get love and connection? Oh, I know. You make yourself useful. You become a great student. You get straight A's. You do everything you're supposed to do and you try your best to stay out of trouble so that you can get the accolades and so that people see you and so you don't disappear in the background. And so I'm not a burden, so that I'm not a problem. So for all of my people who have a whole lot of trouble asking for help and you come with the symptom, this is the root. I don't know why it's so hard for me to delegate. I don't know why it's so hard for me to ask for support. I know I'm holding too many things. Perhaps it was survival mode for you to not ask. Perhaps survival mode for little girl you was to learn how to figure it out on your own because ain't nobody got time for you. Not because they don't love you, but because their life is so full. They got their own stuff. They trying to hold themselves. So unless you're literally dying, ain't nobody got time to sit and listen to everything you got to say. Ain't nobody got time to say, how is your day? And how are you? And how is that? And here's how it looks as we grow older. Like I said, number one, you learn how to not have needs, survival mode. Looks like success, looks like independence. It looks like you're doing well when really it's survival mode. Let me not be too needy. Let me not ask for anything unless I'm dying. Survival, because I don't want to put weight on you. I can see you already got weight. I don't want to be a weight. Can you imagine being a young person, a little girl, having things that you need someone to help you hold, but you don't want to be a bother? I'm seeing up close and personal, another side rant. Um, in this new year, I started doing some work in the school system here in Texas. And I think partly because my daughter, my 12-year-old, started middle school this year. And just listening to my high schoolers and the conversations they were having about things their friends were going through, I did a whole lot of counseling for my daughter's basketball team, sitting up in my living room, us talking, us talking. And I began to feel like, I'm a little bit in a bubble over here. I'm over here coaching and counseling in my office with high achieving women, but I have no idea what the pulse is of the young people. And so I went into the school system, and can I just tell you, it has taken everything for me to keep myself together as an empath because I'm seeing soul wounds up close and personal. I'm normally working with a 50-year-old woman when she's been doing the most, when she's feeling responsible for other people's feelings, when she's functioning codependent, not asking for what she needs, um, allowing herself to be disrespected, shrinking in relationships so she don't outshine nobody. And now God has given me a vision, a very clear, up close and personal front row seat of when it happens, sitting there with a 9-year-old who's crying over her mother and the kind of relationship her mother is in and wanting more for her mother than mother wants for herself, wishing she could fix it, can't focus on school. 9 years old. I ain't talking about 16 years old, 9 years old. By the time we get to high school, that's a whole other thing. By the time we get to high school, they're over it because they've been crying over it in elementary school. Like I said, between 7 and 9, seeing fights between adults and bringing that energy to school when they crave security, stability. What am I doing for survival as a 7 year old and 9 year old? Now I'm learning how to fight because my mom can't fight. Now I'm learning how to speak because my mom is silent. But in school, it's inappropriate because I'm called grown. I'm called disrespectful, not knowing the full context, not knowing that this girl has developed a sense of over responsibility because ain't nobody taking responsibility at home. This is how it happens. So here you are with your big age, your big self. My ideal clients are usually between 45 and 55. So here you are now with your degrees. Here you are now with your house. Here you are now in your okay, so kind of marriage with your 3, 4 kids and the dog and all the bills and all of the things, and wondering why I still don't feel fulfilled, wondering why I still feel empty, wondering why I want to blow up my life. Because so much of what we do and what we have been calling success is just you in survival mode, making it work. Because I don't have no choice but for it to work. I gotta be responsible because if I'm not responsible, I'm gonna shrink, I'm gonna fall into the ground, and where will the love be? Where will the love be? But we are at the end of an era. We are at the end of a season. And I firmly believe that so much is being orchestrated. As much as it looks like chaos, can I remind you that it is chaos that comes before the creation? God spoke to the chaos, God spoke to the void and said, "Let there be," and spoke order into chaos. And now, more than ever, you are being called into order. No more running around like a chicken with your head cut off, calling it service. No more giving away what you don't really have to give and calling it love. No more being on mute, acting like you don't have nothing to say because you're trying to be the peacemaker for everybody and you need everybody to be okay, but on the inside you are dying. No more. It's the end of an era. It is the end of survival mode. You are being invited into something sacred, something succulent, something beautiful called your life that God ordained for you before even you stepped one, before you even came into being. God knew you, ordained you, called you. I want you to think beyond the way we tend to use that sort of language. I'm called. Everybody is called. That doesn't mean pulpit. That doesn't mean reverend. That doesn't mean all the things. You are called to be you. He knows my name. He is calling you back to you. It's the end of an era. It's time for you to stop jumping through hoops to get the love that you think you can't get any other way. It's time for you to stop asking for permission from everybody because I need your validation and I can't make a move unless you agree. God has approved you. He has affirmed you. He has called you by name. He says you're good, very good, in fact, very good. And so the question is, are you ready to lay it down? Are you ready to lay down your version of success for something sacred. If you've been watching the videos, then you already know. And if you're part of the community, you know that we are going to Costa Rica in the fall, the Soul Love Fall Retreat. Costa Rica is calling, and it is not calling you to a vacation. It is not calling you to escape. It is calling you home to yourself because it's the end of an era. It's the end of you running. It is the end of you doing things in this way. I had to sit with myself when my good friend gently but firmly told me, Melissa, it's okay for you to say no to your children. It's okay to say, I don't have it. And that fear, the anxiety of if I can't do it, it sounds ridiculous when we say it out loud. Like, will they not love me? But again, how much are you doing trying to fill up? Because if I do it and if I don't let anybody down, then that way they'll love me. And as a woman over 50, you will learn real quick that is not the way of love, that is the way of exhaustion. And so I want to invite you to take a look at where you're still in survival mode. You may have picked it up then as a child, and it may have been necessary then. It may have been what you needed to do to get yourself out of your house into a different kind of situation, but it is not needed now. The scriptures say, well, Jesus said, I come that you might have life, life, not survival, life, and have it abundantly. That means I want you to have it to the fullest, not little tiny pieces, not little tiny crumbs. A different way of being is being required. And it is time for you to meet the version of you that has no need to overwork, overperform, overgive, overextend, exhaust yourself in the name of love, affirmation, security, identity. He knows your name and he's calling you. So, two things I want to invite you to do. Number one, I want you to really take a listen to this message. I want you to, because I know who I'm talking to, I know who's in our community. I want you to look at where you're overperforming and calling it success, calling it work ethic, calling it responsibility. I want you to shut your phone down for a minute, get quiet, and let God show you where you are in survival mode. You are doing what you think you must do for love, affirmation, permission to even exist. And number two, if you know that you are at the end of an era, I want to invite you to be one of the 7 women. And I will just say to you that since I announced this last Friday, I have done my part. I've been having these conversations and y'all not playing. I love it. That's how I know God put this in my spirit. Because 4 to 5, I'll say 4.5, because one person's really not sure, but there's probably only 2 to 3 seats left, 2 to 3 spots left for this Costa Rica retreat. The dates are October 15th through 19th. And y'all are showing up strong. And women are saying to me, I need this. I know that God has me shutting down some things, wrapping up some things, because God is just doing something totally different with me. And I'm ready for it. I don't even know what it is, but I know what it's not. I don't know where I'm going, but I know we won't be here. And I don't mean in geographical location. I mean in mindset. I mean in way of being. It's the end of an era. And it's up to you to decide how you're going to come into a new beginning. God is calling. It's always up to us to answer. So that's your assignment, as well as, okay, three things. Like and share this video. Share it with somebody else that you know is doing the most, and it looks great on paper. But for real, it's just survival mode. You've been doing this your whole life and you're exhausted. And the reality is, you don't know how much longer you can do it. But as I said earlier, the question is not, can I keep doing this? The question is, are you ready to do something else? Do you really want to live like this? And if the answer is no, then whether you reach out to me, whether you connect with another counselor, life coach, somebody that you can connect with that can hold you accountable to the woman you know you are meant to be. That's the work. That's the assignment. Don't cut yourself short trying to push everybody else forward when really it's just you in survival mode avoiding you. All right, I'm gonna leave y'all alone. I love you. Blessings to you. Let me know your thoughts on this video as well, and I will talk to you next time. Application for the retreat, I will put in the notes of the YouTube video, or feel free to DM me, message me directly, and I will work out a time to share all the details, payment plans, options, for how you can get in on this amazing, sacred opportunity. Bye-bye.